or in an investment bank in New York, you were making about $17,000 a week if you were a normal average worker, right? Not the high flyers. At the same time, other Americans were making about $800 a week. So big difference. And you had and that year, you had a 21% growth in earnings right before the crash. Right? So that part's not so exciting. However, if you think about this long-term shift in economic activity, both in the rise in compensation and in the pooling of profits, that's about $6.5 trillion in the value produced by the economy between 1980 and the crash. Right? Now, I think all of us agree that's a big amount of money. Right? It's about 6 times the cost of the Afghanistan and Iraqi war and half of the cumulative federal debt. Right? Not to say that the money would have gone there, but to give you some kind of a sense. Right? This shift in income was a product of institutional changes. So the other face of financialization is what happened in the non-finance sector. And you probably know this at some level, right? Good. So we've got non-financial firms, this is the other face, non-financial firms doing financial activities like loaning money all the way back to like 1919. That's when GM formed GMAC, right? And GE Capital is in the 30s, so they're out there for a long time. Right? But up until this deregulation of financial activity, these non-financial firms use their ability to issue debt to sell their stuff. Right? Afterwards, they use this deregulation to become financial services firms. And there's a lot of ways to think about it. If you go before the crash in 2004, for GM, 66% of its profits came out of its financial arm. For Ford, it lost money from selling cars, but made $1 billion in profits on its financial arm. And GE, it's been more than half of their profits for like 15 years. So what does that look like? Right? So this is the whole economy. If you look over time at financial revenue over realized profits, these are not equivalent things. There's some cost to financial revenue. You see this this kind of trend where you can see that the non-financial firms are increasingly moving into financial instruments of one sort or another. The one estimate I've got is before 1980, about 25% of investments, new investments on the non-financial firms went into financial instruments. Afterwards, we moved up to about 50%. Lots of things happen. Okay, so I'm going to tie it now to the inequality thing. So I'm not going to tell this story. Except to notice this, 834 Fortune 500 firms, because some come, some go. So one of the things that we see is the big firms, these are big non-financial firms, are an increasing part of the economy if you measure it by revenue, and a decreasing part of the economy if you measure it by employment. And the divergence happens in the 1990s. Right? The first chart is the share, the one is